This patient is an 18-year-old male high school collegiate football player and wrestler. It is the end of his high school senior year. He is about to graduate, and at the end of his junior year, he had torn his labrum and dislocated his shoulder. Continued to practice on it against his doctor's, coach's, father's, family's wishes, and ended up basically tearing his shoulder in a Bankart lesion as well as a Tay-Sachs lesion, to the point where he has a very large gaping hole in that labrum, as well as a bony osteophyte is starting to form inside there. So he's in a lot of pain right now. For the past 2 years, he's never been afraid of pain. He's a big athletic identity, big grinder. So he has high locus of control, but his motivating factors aren't really going to be there anymore since he's a graduating high school athlete. He doesn't think he wants to go back to college. His job doesn't require him to go to college. He is working for Speed Society. He's a video editor. He's making more money now than any of us are going to be making after we graduate from this master's program. So yeah, it's kind of a difficult job because he had a surgery. He said he went to Kaiser for rehabilitation. I actually put him in touch with one of the physical therapists that I had worked with personally myself, referring clients to, and then as well as doing an internship with him once I was at Point Loma Nazarene. I don't think they ever got in touch according to my contact, so, and his father, since he's 18, doesn't actually know how well and compliant he was with his actual rehabilitation. He did lose a lot of weight between after the first shoulder surgery. He did change his diet, but I wasn't quite sure what that meant. So he went from being kind of a huskier kid with this loose shoulder to the next time I saw him, he had lost a lot of weight, but then he retore his shoulder wrestling, tried to kind of muscle through the season, did that. He was successful up to his standard of play, and is now just like dislocating in his sleep at night. And his biggest concern, like I said, he's kind of he is no longer contemplating surgeries and stuck in like stage 2 pre-contemplation, not really admitting the severity of his injury, and kind of just giving up. He doesn't really, 18 years old, there is no high school sports, left to continue playing, so he doesn't have a reason to feel like he needs to keep going. His family, his father is athletic, so I think there might be some pressure from to be performing and being able to perform in sports, kind of coming from that side, even though I don't think his father's actually ever really pressured him. He doesn't have a lot of coping skills, because I do know he's an 18-year-old male. He doesn't really have a lot of things to talk to and be open with. Usually it's pulling teeth when we get together, and we're very, we do have a lot of rapport and work together a lot of years. Hides a lot of things from his family, but his mom is not very emotionally available. She kind of just uses him for free labor to raise his little sisters. It's kind of despicable, if you ask me. And apparently that's the same story coming from him and from his father. So once his father once I saw the behavior in action, well, it was kind of like, wow, okay. So I can see where this kid might have some type of pressure to feel like he needs to go and make money because he's been kind of let that way. But I do think it would be better for him to kind of live himself out. And it's funny, so we've talked again since the first time we talked. I had to reshoot this video because he changed his mind, which is a good thing. So in the outset, the plan was to rehabilitation profile him, and just kind of help him see like what the process really was going to take, and see how close and far he was in certain aspects, not only physiologically but as well as psychologically. We know he can buy into the physiological well because he's always willing to grind and work hard. And we have range of motion here, we have flexibility here, we have endurance, we have motor control, we have episodes of pain, we have episodes of instability, something we can measure in a chart. So the first time we met, we did this, and there was no talk of surgery happening again. He was pretty much dead set that he didn't want to do it again, and he was not sure if he wanted to even be active anymore. He started then kind of having some ideas about going and playing lacrosse at the end of school year because he could, and it's like he had that eligibility, or he had that time to where he could adjust it. But I had to tell him, like, hey, it's still going to be dislocating, it's not going to be great. Either way, so after we did our initial rehabilitation profiling worksheets, where he did not have any intention of like putting himself, or so I thought, he didn't have as much intention in putting himself back into that pool for getting another surgery. He did. So now, after 2 sheets, 2 pieces of paper from this presentation where I was like giving up hope, we now have a surgery scheduled 6 months from now, and we have a goal. So we now have a goal. He wants to get back into training mixed martial arts. He wants to train mixed martial arts since he has that wrestling background. And this is something we were kind of talking before the pain was getting too bad to him. So some of the unseen things are that he is a tough kid, but, and this is going off what we have written up for it, he's in a lot of pain. Like, he's in a lot of pain every night. It dislocates, and he's too tough to admit that he feels that pain, and is, he will be willing to put himself in further pain to help stop that pain. But if he doesn't actually believe it'll get the pain to stop, I think he starts to lose that locus of control in terms of being able to be good again. I'm not sure if he completely trusts the surgeons, but we have to come to that point, and kind of, as I'm re-educating him through the rehabilitation process, again, we have to see, where did you skip steps? Were skips stepped in general, or was it just a freak accident when he popped out? Did you just go back too soon? Was it not a good surgery? Where should his fears actually lay? Because right now he doesn't have enough. It's almost like an unrealistic, oh, okay, well, shoulder's done, I'm 18, okay, I'm just never going to use it anymore. It's like, okay, well, no, maybe I will be able to go use it just without surgery. So it's just a very unrealistic, kind of, he's not really sitting with it, but now he's sitting with it, and he's willing to work towards that because he understands that it's going to be a short process. So we're going to continue doing the rehabilitation profiling. We're going to start working on his lower body, his mobility, and we're going to start working on those psychological skills. So I'm introducing myself back into his life as a component of strength coaching, because he's going to be joining the gym that I'm working out at. I'm no longer going to be a strength and conditioning coach, but I'm going to be social support for him throughout this process, and he's going to help hold me accountable for my process. So a lot of this is also going to be, he's helping me keep myself accountable for my own psychological rehabilitation entry back into sport, because I'm also returning to martial arts, boxing, not mixed martial arts per se, but I still have some of the same things that I need to do, and the best way to show is by example. So I have a chart for myself. We'll have these both shown up here. This is number 1. This is number 2. Obviously not too much differences between the physiological, but still, just like leading by example and showing, hey, I'm doing this. I'm down to do it with you. Well, you really can't say that he's not interested. So, speaking of what skills I'm going to try and instill in him, and I do really believe optimism. And so we're going to list these studies right here. Carrie Scherzer, Britton Brewer, and Alan Cornelius from The Journey of Psychology, Volume 10, Issue 3, pages 165, 172. Journal of Sport Rehabilitation, Psychological Skills and Adherence to Rehabilitation After Reconstructive Surgery, discusses after what they found out of measuring 54 patients in outpatient physical therapy settings, that the number one marker of correlation, successful outcomes, was positivity. So if he doesn't have any positivity around him, I can at least be that overwhelming positivity for him when he needs it, as well as that education when he needs it. So we have the goal set now. I can fill his head with imagery. He also responds very well to that. So me being able to just say out loud what he's capable of, and help bring him back those visions of that combat sports. I mean, we obviously have conversations all the time how we need combat sports back in our life, because those are our main coping mechanisms. So we'll have positive self-talk in between each other, back and forth, which is also evidence-based best practice tools for facilitating rehabilitation adherence, as evidenced by Tom Williams, Lynn Evans, Angus Robertson in the role of treatment tools and psychosocial factors in athletes' recovery from surgery, a longitudinal study. Also in the book that we read, does the same thing. But so once again, positive self-talk for myself, teaching him how to be aware of and cognizant of these things, as well as self-reporting them back to me, so we could help keep each other accountable for having, our goals set, our goals met or not met, having a positive attitude, and being able to imagine the recoveries that we both need. Some more unseen factors that I guess we'll talk about in possible referral is he started to kind of pour himself into his girlfriend after his loss of ability to play sports. So we're not quite sure if the rapid weight loss he occurred during that rehabilitation was from increased cardio and healthier eating, or if it was just from increased tobacco and, not eating. Maybe it was from depression from getting injured again. Once again, we're not quite sure of the status of his, you ask him what he's eating, I eat clean, okay? So we'll have to see that in practice. Obviously getting him to talk about his girlfriend situation is not as, I have an easier time than his father does. I have a much easier time getting him to open up about his drug use, his marijuana and his vaping. Also on his MRI, they found a bubble in his lung, which it's probably a vape bubble, but still, you have to have that conversation. It's like, okay, his father told me that he found like boxes and boxes and boxes of vape pens in this kid's car. So it's like, okay, maybe you're selling them. Maybe you're like creating this new identity of, Mr. Tobacco Vape Guy. This is your thing. Yeah, he sells this, which is probably not beneficial if we're going to get surgery again, and we're going to be, weakening your bone density and your healing factor, just oxygen in your blood, because we're going to have more of that crap. So obviously, if that's part of your identity, it's counterintuitive to your authentic identity. So those are some of the hidden things that we might need to deal with, and which might actually require referral. I hope not. Because all I can do is tell him the horror stories of what I've seen in surgery from smokers, or point out the lung in his node, the node in his lung. Anywho, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I guess my PowerPoint didn't post, so I'm just gonna send this in video form. Or at least the last portion of video form, because the most of it was kind of in quasi-video form. I believe most of the previous case was presented over the videos, but what was not shown were the rehabilitation profiling sheets that we used, which had more astounding results than I anticipated. I thought that the idea, as expressed by Ms. Barrow, of just merely like introducing the idea of the concepts might be able to galvanize into them being actually taken more seriously. But I think the proof is very visual here, so I'm not even going to really spend time showing the first physiological sheet. The second physiological sheet is just a little bit neater. I was just running out of ink, and I had to print them out. So you can see how much care was put into this sheet. Not a lot. I ripped it straight out of the book, and when I presented it to Rex, you know his name now, he didn't seem to. I thought he was going to be more. I thought he was going to be more interested in this, but I kind of made some jokes about, so you just use all black. How about you use some colors that kind of represent some other things. And this was his psychological sheet, which I wanted him to fill out at home. So he obviously went and took some colors, and which I thought was interesting, where things were colored differently a little bit. So his focus was orange. Pain tolerance, confidence, and adherence, he all rated as high, were green. Social support, anxiety, and understanding. His understanding, he kind of, I don't know what the hell was going on over here, if you wanted to see. But I think that caused him to make him want to ask more questions, and I think those questions that he asked and that research that he did may have actually helped him give those people a call at Kaiser and actually put his foot on the gas to getting the next surgery, because I didn't know if he was hemming or hawing in our first initial meetings or if he was actually trying to get it. Gut was telling me we were against it, right? So this is between meeting 1 and meeting 2. And even if you, like, just not even paying attention to the measures of, like the differences in number of things, but, like, the differences in amount of attention he paid here. So the guy's an artist, and I never really even considered this for himself because he's a video editor, and he's obviously not a strong coloring book guy, but, like, the attention to detail he put in between the two. I mean, his goals is his motivation is now gold as opposed to brown, and things are, his anxiety is smaller than it was in the first week, but it's got this kind of interesting, I don't know. So, like, to me, I'm probably reading way more into this than any of the research in our textbook says, but I'm surprised that from our initial meeting, no, like, actual workout said. We were just discussing the facts, and I think him just seeing that, all those things are necessary for successful rehabilitation. Maybe he was able to see that he was missing almost all of these things prior. Not huge jumps in between, but huge jumps for sure in how he represented that data. So, other things we had covered in the PowerPoint that did not pop up. Just specific how the plan was. We were going to try to implement, vision board for imagery, even though he has a good time, like, seeing himself do things as he is an artist. We could have him just work on posting together old clips of his martial arts career, so he could actually see himself still performing, even though still some of those clips are him injured. There was the positive self-talk, so it would just be giving him cues, like, so when we give him hard exercises, give him something to say, like a totem that he can hold on to. Now, we'd be doing this and introducing it prior to actual post-op, when we're still, like, working on hips, T-spine, feet, everything up. And then it would be kind of trying to, Indiana Jones bait and switch the vaporized nicotine into hanging out with his old trainer, who, like I said, I'm not going to be his paid trainer anymore, but we are going to be a network of support for each other. And his sports participation, week 1, he left as a complete blank. Second one, he couldn't, because I made sure we did something that was considered a sport when we worked out that day. But even that went to 0 to 1, that still brings back his athletic identity, which he has been lacking since February, the end of that season. So, and just having a little bit of that back, gives him that taste that, hey, he still has that, he still wants it. We don't want to kill that identity quite yet, when he's still so young and he still has so much life to live. I'm not a firm believer in getting rid of that anyways. So things are obviously going to be harder post-op, when we have to make things a lot more conservative. But I think we're setting the stage now to where it's, hey, you did all this good work in the past, you did all this good work today, we've already had this many changes. What's to happen when we have more and more and more of these? We now have evidence of the work that he's done and the growth that he's put into it, so it could help hopefully procure future buy-in when things are rough. Post-operation, which probably will be, but like I said, he's got a high pain tolerance, and if he's in this much pain going to sleep at night, so one of the problems we have come up with was the sleep. And so, hey, it's like, even though as important as it is, he likes sleeping on his stomach, so the shoulder is dislocating in his sleep. So we've been trying to use a Sully brace to prevent it from dislocating in his sleep, but it's not. So the next thing was, all right, how about you? I showed him this pillow that I got an ad for on Instagram for side sleeping, and we're gonna, hope he can get that at some point soon, and see if we can find a way for him to sleep pain-free. You're going to need to get him to be sleeping on his back eventually anyways for post-op, as opposed to sleeping on his stomach. So we're just building the daily rituals, the daily routines, the ideal day scenarios that he's going to be living for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, until he gets that surgery, and the next 180 days after that. We're just trying to make it as rinse, wash, repeat as possible. So he hops out of the bed, it's the same story. Sorry, I was not anticipating this being a bunch of videos. I was anticipating those first videos being in there. Um, but yeah, I see not uploading. So thank you for the class. I do enjoy. I enjoy. I enjoy studying psychology. I think we need a lot more. I think we need a lot more work. Me, me and my athlete, but I mean us, our class, as clinicians. I think. I really don't think. I don't think any of us have as much as we need in our tool bag quite yet. But I think we will get it with some years' experience. Maybe one of these days I'll learn how to work a computer. Thank you for your time. I hope to see you again.